Hello, welcome to another edition of Only in Illinois, your weekly recap from Reboot Illinois. I'm Madeline Dubeck here with Matt Dietrich, and it is a brand spanking new day in Illinois. Well, you might think that, but it really might turn out to be Groundhog Day. We'll explain. The Illinois House and Senate passed a stopgap budget bill today.
Right.
Includes funding for a full year for K through 12.
That's good news.
It includes funding for higher education.
Right, good news also.
It includes for the city of Chicago the ability for the city council to approve up to $250 million more dollars to be funneled into their Chicago teachers pension fund. What else does it include? It includes some $700 million in funds to keep the prisons operating and the vendors who provide the food for the prisoners paid. $650 million for human services around the state. MAP grant money for college students,
which is a big one because the students had been promised the money a year ago for the school year that's passed and had never gotten the money. Now they'll get it. And actually, it's not the students who get it. In most cases, it's going to go directly to the college because MAP grants get paid to the college, and then the college takes your tuition down. So they've been carrying the load of all of these MAP grants that they didn't receive. Yeah.
And then the last thing that we should mention is that some funding was also approved for capital projects, road construction.
Right.
In particular, the 5-year IDOT road plan that keeps 25,000 construction workers on the job.
And all those projects that already were underway will continue to be performed as July 1st comes.
So that's good, and the flaggers will be out there stopping you from proceeding.
Right.
But what's bad?
Well, what's bad is that this really, we call it a budget. It's not a budget. A budget is the state's game plan for getting through the future. A budget is where the state decides, here's what state government is going to do, and we're going to pay for it by either cutting or by raising revenue through taxes. But I mean, it's a game plan. And what this is not really a game plan. It's more or less a Hail Mary pass that is going to get us through the end of the calendar year without government crashing to the ground and without colleges actually closing and a whole lot of really bad things happening. What it doesn't address, though, is we've got...
It's just to interrupt for 1 second. It is school funding for a full year, but everything else only gets us to the Hail Mary pass to the end of the year. Right,
that's correct. And the problem is we've got this backlog of $8 billion in bills that's got to be paid. Part of the agreement in this, and this is another piece of good news, is that the governor and Senate President Cullerton and
Speaker Madigan,
I guess Speaker Madigan, have agreed that they're going to start working on pension reform. President Cullerton had a pension reform plan.
So I was going to say that's the what's missing part, because there supposedly is an agreement, but we haven't actually seen anything yet.
And as we know, you just don't believe anything until you see it in these talks. And that the pension reform plan could save $1 billion a year if it survives a court battle, which will come. We won't know about that for 18 months. So that's kind of good news there. But the problem is, this is going to get us through the end of the calendar year. They're all going to come back on November 15th. That's when the fall veto session begins. And when they come back, they're going to have 6 weeks to get a long-term budget, a real budget that addresses revenue, that addresses efficiencies, cuts, whatever. And already, Governor Rauner has already said...
The government version of credit card debt being the $8 billion backlog. Right?
But already Governor Rauner is saying, as he said all along, I'm not going to sign tax increases if I don't get some reforms. So the same fight that we have had now for a year and a half, ever since.
Groundhog Day.
Right, it's going to start again when they come back on November 15th. Now, maybe they will have seen that, we can work together on some things. Maybe after the elections, who knows? Maybe Speaker Madigan will become more amenable to, for example, changing the workers' compensation system so that Illinois does not have the highest insurance rates in the country. Maybe he will see that by doing that, by making some more subtle changes, that you're not throwing the middle class out onto the streets. Maybe Governor Rauner will see that there's a middle ground in changing workers' compensation law that will get those rates down and will give me a reform victory, and then we can work on restructuring. It's not, we talk about a tax increase, and I do think the income tax is going to go up. But there's a whole...
That would be another part of the what's missing category, obviously.
But there's a whole range of tax reforms that can be done.
Right.
You can modernize the sales tax system.
Which we could have been discussing for the past year and a half.
Exactly right, except that we've been in this deadlock. So, we're in a little better place because at least we know that things will get rolling again, that government will function again, but this is not a budget. This is not a budget. They're going to have to address revenue and spending to get an actual budget that sets Illinois.
Debt.
Yeah, that addresses our past debt. That sets Illinois on a course to get where we should be going. We were backwards for a long time, and now with the new governor, and hopefully maybe we'll get some cooperation now between the governor and Speaker Madigan. You might recall that Governor Edgar said that Speaker Madigan didn't talk to him for a year. Well, we've been through that now. Maybe things can be a little more productive. But
or
for now,
maybe groundhogs will fly.
That could happen as well. In trucks with Bill Murray at the wheel.
There you go.
So, there we have it.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next edition of Only in Illinois.